Cheers, my friend. Thank
Cheers
you for
to you.
joining
Thank
me.
you for this. Pappy, 2015.
Yeah, this is the 15-year-old.
Oh. Okay. This has got a lot going on by smell, doesn't it?
The Fred Minnick Show is brought to you by Michter's and 291 Colorado Whiskey.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Fred Minnick Show. I'm in my studio here with my boy, Paul Charchian. Charch, the greatest fantasy mind in the world. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, because look at this. I am surrounded by like every bottle of bourbon that I've ever seen in my life. It's all here someplace.
And you live in Minneapolis, and
Yes.
you go out, you do blind tastings with your buddies all the time. So
Yeah.
you got the bourbon bug.
I do, and it is bourbon specifically that I really like.
Mhm.
Irish is okay, and I don't really do Scotch at all, but yeah, I love bourbon, and it's become really, if I go back 12 years ago, I'd basically never had whiskey, and then kind of got the bug, and over the last 3 or 4 years, I think my tastes have really changed. I think I've become I'm not going to say snob, but I've become a reasonably sophisticated bourbon drinker.
I love it. Well, we
Yeah.
got a lot of good things to taste today, and of course, in a past episode, I sent he and our good friend Steve Zabin blind samples, and one of those was Blanton's, and it was kind of an eye-opening experience for Zabe because he had always been on the hunt for Blanton's, and I keep telling people, look, Blanton's is fine if you can find it for the SRP. You're not going to spend a lot of money for it, but there's a lot of products that are better than it. And that blind tasting where you and Zabe were like, who forgot the flavor?
Right.
You know? And it was kind of eye-opening for you all, but also for people who listen and watch at home. Because it's just one of those bottles that everybody gets all like, woo, Blanton's, I can't wait. You know, and
the blind tastings really, they take all of that off the table, which is what makes it so great. You know, the label, the bottle, it's just got to stand on its own flavor. And, Blanton's just isn't special. There's no part about that flavor profile that makes you go, wow, this bourbon is great at this. I think there's nothing special about that bottle.
It's true. It's true. And the thing is it used to be a great product that you could get as a gift.
Yeah.
And because the bottle is very ornate and it says Kentucky in a lot of ways because it's got the horse, it's the bourbon, obviously. And the bourbon's always been good.
Good.
It's good. But it's not great, and it's been put on that pedestal like great. Now I will have arguments all day long about Pappy Van Winkle and its status where it is, because that whiskey, while people may not necessarily agree with the pricing, that whiskey usually is pretty good, especially the 15-year-old. The 23-year-old can be over oaked, but that one has, it has no quality issues in my eyes, with the exception of maybe the 23-year-old expression. But Blanton's is absolutely overhyped.
It's overhyped. Now, you said some people may have a problem with the pricing on Blanton's, or not Blanton's, Pappy.
Pappy, right?
Yeah, that's everybody. It retails. If you win the lottery to buy it, you can spend $1,000 on a bottle or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that's absurd.
Yeah.
I've never had it though, so who am I to say?
No.
I don't even want to know. There's part of me that's Fred, I don't even want to know, because what if I like it? What if I have a taste for Pappy? Then what?
That's where we'll start with our tasting then. Let's start with some Pappy.
Wait, I was not fishing for some Pappy out of this.
No,
I really wasn't.
I wasn't trying to get you to fish. Listen.
All right. I'm not saying no, though. I'll tell you that much.
I do believe in taking care of my friends when they come to my house. Now, I will say that really does hurt the rest of our tasting, because this is
we're starting at
we're going to start with Pappy 15-year-old, and the subject that we're going to talk about today is our athletes who basically have connections to booze, and we have a lot of different ways to talk about it. But before we jump into that, you are the fantasy guru And I don't want to steal your thunder and like take away a future podcast for you. But do you got a sleeper or two that you can help my bottom dwelling team that hasn't won a freaking anything in 15 years? You got a sleeper or two that we can?
My favorite sleeper this year is a Baltimore Ravens running back named Gus Edwards. Now, they drafted J.K. Dobbins 2 years ago, and he had a really nice rookie year. And last year, it was 3 different running backs that they used, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram. And they were all kind of serviceable. But Gus Edwards kept getting goal line carries, and eventually they just sort of phased out Mark Ingram altogether. Now Mark Ingram's gone. This is a 2-headed monster that are going to get almost even time in the backfield for Baltimore, and no team runs the ball more than the Ravens do. And Gus Edwards is going like 8 rounds later. His average draft position is around 12. And J.K. Dobbins is round 3. So you can really get a ton of value from Gus Edwards. That's my favorite sleeper out of everybody this year. I absolutely love him. And then just as a team, the Washington football team could be sitting on a really great year. Your defense is fantastic, and then you bring Ryan Fitzpatrick in. I know you're modeling your beard after Fitzpatrick. Right, yeah. You got a little work to do, Fred.
A little bit of work.
Yeah, a little work to do there. But the acceleration and quarterback ability that they've got, going from 3 different feeble-armed quarterbacks last year to one of the great downfield passers, the YOLO passing stylings of Ryan Fitzpatrick. It'll be like interception, don't care, touchdown. I love that. Yeah, so that's gonna be an offense. I like taking a lot of football team players.
Well, that's good to know. I know Zabe will like to hear that, but
he will like to hear that. By the way, seeing Zabe in like 2 days.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Well, he's the only other person to have an in-person interview in this
right
spot
here.
Like this. Yeah,
I feel honored.
And that's why I've changed. Like, if you watch that video with him, I hated the setup. Like, I watched it and I was like, I hate that. So I spent like 2 or 3 hours today, like perfecting the angle.
Camera angle, the lighting right here, very fancy.
And now, like, the light is just kind of
it's hitting me right across the face. Yeah,
but it'll go down that tree there. So what I do is I have a couple windows here that you cannot beat natural light. You just can't beat natural light. And so we are recording this, and we do have some sipping to do.
We do.
And by the way, with a name like Gus, you can't go wrong. I love that name.
Gus, that's a traditional name.
Right. I mean, I love that
Gus.
name.
That's fantastic.
Cheers, my friend. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for this. Pappy, 2015.
Yeah, this is the 15-year-old.
Oh. Okay. This has got a lot going on by smell, doesn't it?
It's kind of got...
There's... It's got I can tell it's going to be at least a little proofy. It's got some distinct spice in there, Fred. And almost a tartness for me. We'll see. Wow. That is incredibly complex. I love how spicy this is. This has got some real heat to it, and not just a proofy heat. This has got some, and it's not just like, bam, benzene. It's not that at all. This has got the kind of spice and huge palate. You get all, right through the sinuses with all the
now,
spiciness.
It's also your first one too, so don't crush it just yet.
Okay.
When we sip through a few more, your palate will be warmed up, and I'd say come back to it and see if you pick anything else up.
All right, that's a deal. But boy, that's not what I expected at all. I expected it to be milder, sweeter. Pappy's not particularly sweet.
Well, I think this is very layered. This has a lot. This one has a lot going on. So you're gonna right now you're getting spices. When you come back to it, you may get sweetness.
Okay.
So let your palate warm up, kind of like like a wide receiver running a route. You get a little warmed up here. and then boom, you might get
All right.
a little bit more.
I'm gonna set this aside.
Yeah, well, we're gonna try and we're gonna taste a lot here in between our discussions.
Look at all this.
And one of the things that we wanted to talk about was about athletes, like some of the greatest like drinking athletes of all time.
Yeah.
And we put it out on Twitter. A lot of people brought up André the Giant.
I think he's going to be the winner of this conversation, don't you?
When we talk about drinkers, I mean, that man was a drinker.
Was he? Now, most people have seen the picture of his hand holding the can of beer.
Mm-hmm.
And the can is in his palm.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like palming a can of beer. And then you get to some of the claims that people have about André the Giant's drinking that is really almost mythical levels.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan claims in the Tampa Delta, the Delta Lounge, with 1 hour before his flight, that André the Giant drank 108 beers.
I mean, that's a very specific number.
That is a very specific number.
Yeah.
Now, can a human being physically drink 108 12-ounce cans in 1 hour?
I mean, it's a lot. He was a big boy, so he's got a bigger liver, he's got a bigger belly. He's going to be processing it quicker.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that is a ton.
That's a ton. I just don't know. I mean, if I literally just like opened your mouth and just poured beers, 108 in them, and if you could somehow physically drink it all, could you do that in 1 hour? I don't know if it's possible.
I know it's not possible for me, André the Giant. Yes, I also find that one to be a little bit more believable than Walt Chamberlain's claim.
That's right.
I find that to be. I find André the Giant to be more believable.
I do too. It's the Wilt Chamberlain. It's the booze boast.
Yeah.
That is the Wilt Chamberlain equivalent here. Also, he's André the Giant rumored to have been flying to Tokyo, and he drank all the booze. He drank the entire flight full of booze, all of it himself on the flight to Tokyo.
I'm not buying that one because the pilot's not going to let it all go.
The pilot needs some for himself.
I know too many pilots. They get like this they have like this particular they have a very special ego, kind of like a doctor. Basically they have your entire lives in your hands, and they find out like one passenger's drinking everything. Like, I'll save one for me because I'm the pilot. I don't see that. I mean, they may have thought he got it, but I guarantee the pilot, called up the flight attendant. Was like,
right.
Hey, you see that wild turkey over there? That one's mine.
Right.
You ain't giving it to that asshole.
No kidding. Now, have you ever seen pictures of André the Giant flying?
No, I haven't actually, come to think of it.
So, I mean, he needed the whole row.
Sure.
Because he's just so big. He was 7'4", 300, and the weight varied a little bit, but 350, 400 pounds. He was just so big, he needed a row to himself. And usually it would be whatever the very first row was. But my luck, I would get, whenever I get on the plane, I've got André the Giant next to me, and he's got one seat, and he's, half of his body mass is, hanging into my seat. And
it's not so much the mass that bothers me. It's like, wash your damn armpits. Why is it so hard to not stink? And I have such a sensitive nose. I can smell someone farting in first class if I'm all the way back. And so I always get, someone, and they don't even have to be large. I mean, I get someone who just has not practiced hygiene in some time. And that's why, in the modern climate, I kind of hope they keep masks on airplanes because it protects me. It's just a layer of protection from other people's stink,
It's a bad sign when you can't get the arm, you can't get the arm down. The arm is your only barrier. And it's between you and the person next to you. That's the only physical barrier. Won't help you with the odor. But that's all you got. And That's the
Well,
that's the one little like slice
if
of
you can't-
decorum.
The
between
arm
you.
can help you in one instance. Let's say they've got, they're to your left and they've got the right armpit foul.
Yeah.
If you are able to secure the arm brace before they are,
Yeah.
then you can perhaps get them to lock in their right arm and seal the stink in their armpit. So there is a way to protect yourself from the stink. But it's very specific.
That's very specific. And the other thing is, you put the arm down and it's got the width of it is about 1 inch. That's it. You both got arms and elbows.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns into this game of like who camps out first, right?
Yeah.
And if you've got it first and then you like shuffle or move, oh, all right.
Yeah.
And you got this unwritten back and forth that nobody talks about, but it's the game we're all playing. Because everybody wants a little armrest, and it's a little armrest.
And the guy who's sitting by the window, because I'm a Nile guy.
Yeah.
The guy who's sitting by the window always has to go to the bathroom when I break out my laptop and I got my coffee.
That's right.
The worst absolute time. I'm so sorry, man. Would you mind? I need to go to the bathroom.
What are you gonna say?
Like, you fucking piss your pants. No, I'm not getting up. Fuck you. I mean, that's what I want to say. But I mean, then I'm holding my laptop and my coffee, and get turbulence, and it's like, I pour it, and it's.
And by the time you sit back down, get the laptop back up, get the coffee going, now he's back. Now he wants to come back in again, get back up, fold everything up, get it, stand up, and now he goes back in.
And then the guy is sitting in front of you in a seat.
Oh, man! You see, the seat Nazis. So let's talk about that for a minute. By the way, let's go for one other one.
Yeah,
and then
we're gonna stress ourselves out here.
I know. What do you want to do next?
I want to stay in the style, the kind of style we're in. Let's go to Michter's 10-year-old.
Oh, I think Michter's is a great brand.
Michter's they're wonderful.
They are.
Let me see.
There we go. Thank you.
By the way, if you run out of glasses, I got a case.
I saw. Very nice. Now, as a parting, these are Fred Minnick official. Is it pronounced Glencairn?
Yeah, Glencairn.
Glencairn glasses.
As a guest to the show.
Yes, I mean, since you don't have the home game version of the Fred Minnick Show, can this be my parting guest?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Probably end up with a few parting gifts.
That would be.
And to include a bottle of Michter's or two, or maybe a couple others. I'm gonna hook you up, man.
I like that. That's all a bonus. So, which Michter's are we drinking right now?
This is a 10-year-old. This is their latest single barrel of the 10-year.
Mm.
And the thing that this one's been getting a lot of publicity. From Robert Port and like Vine Pair, like a lot of like tasters have really, really liked this edition.
I will look forward to hearing what you think.
This is a creme brulee meets bananas Foster. It's got a lot of really kind of like a creme brulee. Everyone always thinks it's like sweet, and it is, but there's like a burnt kind of like spicy note in a creme brulee that's really particular to me. And this has it. And I've tasted this a couple times, and it's quite good.
I like this a lot, and again, Michter's is one of my favorite labels going, but this is especially good. Lots of kick to it. You mentioned the fruity. You mentioned bananas Foster, and I'm totally impressionable. By the way, if you say banana, and then I start thinking, oh, do I have banana in there? Yes, I do. I'm totally impressionable. I swear there is some of that in there. It's a little bit almost buttery to me.
Yeah.
This is really kind of in my wheelhouse because it's got enough spicy and sweet in equal measure that I really like. Ooh.
Yeah, this is one where we get in trouble on.
Mm-hmm.
Goes down too easy.
Now, if I were to guess the proof on this, and I don't know, I would guess this is 98 proof?
They are 90. I'm sorry, give me a second here. 94 proof.
That wasn't bad.
It's not bad at all. By the way,
if
the
Price is
Pappy-
Right rules, I just lost.
the Pappy was 107. Is 107.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know
You're
that.
gonna taste a couple that are in like the 120s. So
And you know what? I'm okay with that
yeah.
because I've changed. This, I started like a lot of people. I started at 80, and I've just been slow over the years, incrementing up. And I'm still not chugging Bookers, but I'll drink it. But I'm not having 5 Bookers. I'm not there yet.
Give it time.
Give it time. I know.
Give it time.
I'm heading that way. So the people in front of you on the plane.
Yeah.
If when you put your seat back, you are bothering the person behind you.
Yeah.
Accepting like an overnight flight where everybody's back and sleeping,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
You're being an ass, and you're doing it anyway. It's just like the ultimate disregard for humanity and the person behind you because you are giving them a materially worse flight, and we're already
and there's no
cramped.
comfortability to be had from leaning you're leaning it back, because if you get yourself in a comfortable position as you're about to land, they're going to tell you to raise it up anyway. So I'm like, it's not comfortable for me to lean it back, but it's very comfortable for me to lean my head on the seat in front of me. That's how I sleep.
How?
I
You
put
like
my
the
head,
tray? You open up the tray?
No, I just put my head in between the tray and the little cushion.
How?
That's how I sleep.
You just sleep like this?
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember.
I've never seen that ever in my life. I've never seen.
That's how I sleep on a plane. And you got to remember,
I sleep that way at home.
I mean, I
like walk up to a wall, just thunk.
I mean, I could.
Could you really?
I was in the Army. Never forget a soldier's ability throughout life to be able to sleep anywhere at any time. I literally slept on cattle trailers. And one time I was on a march. I fell asleep while I was on the march and woke up 15 miles later.
Jeez.
Still walking.
Marching.
What? Yeah, I was marching and I was still walking. I hadn't slept. And I woke up like 15 miles later. It was a 25-mile march. Now, granted, I could have been in so much pain. I just kind of blacked that whole time out.
It's your walker's high.
But like we would be like when I was in Iraq, I would be in a striker, and inside it's 140 degrees.
Oh.
Everyone's like panicking and all that. I'm like, it's a good time to take a nap. I was like lean my head back and nap, and people were like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" We could have literally been blown up. Like, yeah, well, I didn't have duty, so just napped.
I didn't know you were in Iraq until now. This is all new to me. I had no idea. You mentioned 104 degrees. I've had friends in Minnesota. We talk about the weather all the time, and we complain about it all the time.
I mean, you all complain about 78 degrees being hot.
We do.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
I've got friends, like most of us, we know people who've been to Iraq and or Afghanistan, and he said it gets to the point where the heat is so much that when it's 90, you're cold. And he said it'd be 90 degrees out, and we're putting on hoodies and stuff because we're cold at 90 because you get so used to 110.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember many 90-degree days, but I do remember, and I was in northern Iraq, it snowed.
Oh, wow.
And like kids were coming out playing, and it was like it was a really cool day. But
it's snowing, yeah.
Yeah, but it was that's the only really cold day I can remember. But if you went to like Kirkuk or Erbil, that's northern Iraq, and it's it can get really cold there. But where I was, it was mostly just hot as fuck.
Yeah.
So,
no doubt.
So let's get back to the
athletes,
great athletes.
Yeah,
drinking. Now you had the Boston Red Sox teams pounding beers, right?
Yeah,
in the clubhouse. That ended up being a real big deal. Major League Baseball ended up changing everything because they changed their alcohol rules based on that. And that always kind of like, I always wonder, like, can't these guys just have a drink? Can't they have fun? Like everyone, they get like a bigger spotlight on them. It just kind of always bugs me.
Well, to me, it all depends on who's doing the drinking. Like if you're the starting pitcher and now you're out of the game, you're not going in the game. So what's the harm?
What's the point?
If you are a pinch hitter, you might not want to have 3 beers before you get up to the plate.
Yeah. And it's like, baseball's like, maybe you all focus on the steroid issue that you have, because this is when that was happening.
Yeah.
And instead of like Beckett and drinking beer. I mean, whatever. But a great Red Sox who had been brought up in that Twitter feed we talked about was Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs is apparently an iconic drinker.
And this is mostly according to Wade Boggs, by the way. I mean, this is him bragging about his own drinking. Now, he claims famously that on a cross-country trip, Boston to L.A., he drank 107 beers on what would have been roughly 6-hour flight. Now, André the Giant claims he had 108 in 1 hour. That makes 107 beers in 6 hours seem more plausible, but we're still at, Fred, like 18 beers an hour, which now we're down to a beer every, 4 minutes?
I don't think a man of that size could pull it off because you're looking at kidney issues. You're looking at really, it's what can the kidneys take now? There's no hard alcohol in there, and if it was maybe 3.2 beer, like maybe he bought the beer from Utah, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah.
But I'm not buying Wade Boggs here now. Wade Boggs, a legend. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Icon, but I'm not buying you on that one, Wade.
I'm not either. Now, I assume you have seen the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that relates to this.
No.
Have you ever seen any It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah, but I kind of they started eating, at some point, they started eating crow eggs or something.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. There's pretty much nothing that's off limits there.
Yeah, I mean, they're very strange.
Yeah, so in the episode, the gang, and there's 4 of them, they decide they're going to try to beat Wade Boggs' flight. And so they're trying to go cross country and have the 107 beers that Wade Boggs claimed to have. And it's a very funny episode. Actually, most of them are, and it's a very good show. It's crass and really, really funny. But the episode does, it's all about trying to beat Wade Boggs.
I love it.
It is. It's great. By the way, Wade Boggs, 3,000 hits, 33rd in career batting average all time, inducted into the Hall of Fame of 2005, and he was an 8-time Silver Slugger.
And no steroids.
No, we have no reason to think he's never been connected to steroids.
I don't know why I feel like pointing that out, just because the sport's been so marred by people taking steroids. And we're at the point now, as the sun is beating us down on the face, we're at the point now where it's like there's an assumption, and also, who cares anymore? But
I care. I do care. I'm
a purist too.
Good, you should be.
But I feel beat down on this topic. I really do, because you hear people talk about everybody was taking them and blah 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 blah. But I'm like, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and
Barry Bonds, famously, yes.
Those are the 3 that always come to mind. And I remember watching them play, and my heart pounding, getting so excited, and then it didn't happen. Then you find out they're steroids, and then you have Ryan Braun with the fake P test or the P testing, and just so much stuff. Yeah, so the whole steroid scandal, it ruined the way they handled it, and the way that some people defended it. To me, ruined baseball. It ruined baseball.
Here's what I hated is they knew it. Everybody knew it. This was not even a secret. The public knew it. Everybody knew it. But baseball's trying to bounce back from their lost season, and everybody wanted baseball to come back and succeed. So we collectively turned our heads, and it was a absolute disgrace. And it wasn't like we didn't know. We all knew. Yeah, hated it.
One of the hardest one for me was my childhood icon as a slugger. And that was Kevin Mitchell from
San Francisco. Thank you.
And he hit 49 home runs. And I remember when he hit 49 home runs, to me because this was back when 35.
Well, yeah, it was a lot, right? Yeah.
Lot.
Yeah.
And it was 49 was just so amazing. And yeah, but he got tied to it, and that kind of broke my heart, took away my my childhood past. So Wade Boggs, though, in the Hall of Fame, didn't do steroids.
No, exactly.
Has some drinking prowess.
Had his number retired by 2 different teams. People forget about the many years he spent in Tampa as well. Yeah. So Wade Boggs.
So now let's
Here's
go
to you.
to Smoke Wagon.
Now, I saw Smoke Wagon on the shelf in Champaign, Illinois last night, and it's a beautiful bottle.
Mhm.
And I assumed, I'm with my wife, and we decided we're going to definitely try new bourbons we hadn't had before. But I was worried it was going to be literally like smoke infused, which I dislike a great deal. I don't generally like the flavored whiskeys, bourbons.
Sure. A good man for that, by the way.
Why, thank you. And I don't just mean like Fireball, right? Which is obvious, and I'm not having Honey Jack.
Right.
That goes without saying. But there are a lot of people, Screwball, whatever.
Yeah,
And
that's
not doing
peanut butter crap.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
So Smoke Wagon is distilled in Indiana, and a guy in Las Vegas blends it. And and like Nevada and Las Vegas have very unique permits that doesn't really allow him to do much distilling. And so he is a blender. So what he does is he gets the barrels from Indiana and blends them there. And he also does contract distillation. And so he has a distillery in Indiana that will make whiskey to his specs. And so this is the small batch product, and it's one of those that the guy's a big character, and he is I would say like a rising star. In the bourbon scene.
But he lives in Las Vegas.
Yeah, lives in Vegas.
Okay, and just does work in Indiana. That's a pretty good life, by the way. I'd like to live in Las Vegas and just have my work be somewhere else.
A lot of cocaine there.
That's not why. I bet you can find cocaine anywhere if you really want to.
No,
maybe even Louisville. By the way, can we get to the bottom of Louisville? Louisville.
Yeah, so it's like Louisville. Yeah.
Man, it sounds like I've already had 25 drinks, so I'm going Louisville. Man, I'm really marbled mouth at that point, right?
That's probably why it came up that way. Is because we drink so much in the
Louisville,
city, which our bars don't close till 4.
So, what? Seriously? Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. The as Minnesota guy, I want to go. Oh, it's Louisville. And then, you instantly out yourself as being just, you couldn't, obviously, not only am I not from Louisville, but I'm not from anything even close to there,
Well, phonetically, maybe we got it all wrong, but, Kentucky doesn't pronounce anything accurately or spell it accurately. Like Frankfurt is spelled differently here than it is in Germany.
Oh.
Versailles is spelled the same as Versailles in France.
But we
say Versailles.
Versailles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is the home of Woodford Reserve, by the way.
Okay.
And so there's all kinds of little things, like little nuance with the language here. And you know what? I mean, Kentuckians, we are, and I'm from Oklahoma, but I've been adopted by the state or the Commonwealth.
How much time has to go by before your adoption goes through?
You either have to marry a Kentuckian, or you have to become a Kentucky colonel. and I achieved both. So,
really?
Yeah. So that's the.
You were a colonel.
I'm a Kentucky colonel.
How do you become a Kentucky colonel?
Somebody has to nominate you, and the governor has to approve you.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that how E.H. Taylor became a colonel? Or was he like a military colonel?
So he's part of the Kentucky colonels, yeah. So
really?
Like same as like Colonel Sanders, KFC, all that sort of thing, yeah. Like Kentucky colonels. I mean, what was the league that was competing against? It was the ABA that's competing against the NBA.
Yep.
The Louisville Colonels was the Kentucky Colonels. That was our team here.
I had no idea. And I always assumed that Colonel E.H. Taylor and the Kentucky Fried Chicken Colonel Sanders, were legitimate Army colonels.
Yeah, they were colonels, Kentucky colonels.
They were just anointed colonelship.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That's the way. Yeah.
So who nominates you?
Somebody within the organization.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
and you have to be, like, in the modern sense, you have to be a philanthropic person. So you can't.
Do you consider yourself to be a philanthropic person?
Oh man,
you just gave me some Pappy, so I would go to war for you here. So yes,
I pride myself on that. I love raising money for charity.
All
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So this smoke wagon. The smoke wagons. You have dialed into my taste profile. This is really good as well, and also really spicy.
And there's a touch of cornbread in this. I don't know if you like cornbread, but it's like the sweet kind, like the Jiffy cornbread.
This is in addition to being spicy. You mentioned cornbread, and again, you're planting tastes in my head a little bit. I get a little vanilla in this.
Okay.
And I guess I can be wrong, but I don't. I'm entitled to my own flavor profile on this.
You just killed the whole glass too.
I did. Is that okay?
No, that's fine.
Oh,
I mean, we'll have to re-pour.
It's really good.
We'll have to re-pour for your taste off. But
you might have. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, but
I didn't. And actually, I didn't even know we were having the taste off. So I killed off my previous one too, the Michters.
But that's okay. We got plenty.
Oh, man.
And I asked you to save some
Pappy, which I did,
and you did. So at least you're following instructions.
All right. A little palate cleansing. Talk to me about palate cleansing before we get to our next athlete here.
Yeah, so palate cleansing is a to each his own kind of person, and I am of the style that soda water is a great cleanser. Gets in there, bubbles up your palate. If I want to be very extravagant about it, I would throw on some like fatty cheese, like a Munster cheese, and have it like kind of fatten up, and then like swish, and then have an almond, which would be bitter.
Yeah.
And then swish again, and then like a basic water cracker, where if you can't taste the water cracker or feel it on your tongue, then your palate's shot.
Okay.
So like that's kind of like my basic technique, but everybody's different, and in some people, it's more important to reset their nose, and so they'll smell like a coffee bean.
Okay.
Some people actually, going back to armpits, will smell their armpit.
What? So, okay, wait. I'm imagining a scenario. You were
or their elbow. They'll smell their elbow, their armpit. It's a thing.
No, I don't know. Fred. You're at the World Whiskey Championships, or whatever this thing is, right?
And hit my.
There you go. Nice. Which. You won that for?
No, it's actually my competition. American Spirits Council of Tasters.
Oh, okay.
I have my own competition now. I've been
nice
for years. I've been a judge on other people's competitions,
right?
Like World Whiskey Awards, San Francisco World Spirits Competition, just to name a couple. And I, decided to do my own.
Oh, cool.
And
if you need anybody. So when you're at one of these prestigious, whether it's yours or somebody else's, and the judge next to you take a big old sniff of the armpit, that's normal and accepted? And is there any other walk of life in which you can get away with that?
No, so that's not happening.
I would hope not.
They're not doing it there, but like if it's all about resetting your nose and resetting, so you smell something that you're familiar with, and it's like, and it will, whatever it is. And I do know someone who smells their armpit.
Really?
And I had a woman who was on my for my film that I did for my competition. She talked about smelling her elbow. The inside of her
elbow pit.
Yeah, her elbow pit. And it is a common thing. You have to find something. I don't need to reset my nose. Like my nose is like, it's just always there. It's more my palate that I would have to like reset or make sure it's okay.
Okay.
But everybody's different. It's kind of like, I mean, I really do equate tasting. It's akin to athletics for me. Like it's like some people are fast and can catch balls, and some people are linemen. Some people have the ability to play for 15 years without missing a game. Some people are injured all the time.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting, similarity for me.
Speaking of short-lived athletes, let's transition to two.
Okay.
Maurice Clarett.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Maurice Clarett? Ohio State running back, very good. But while at Ohio State, arrested at least once and convicted of 2 counts of armed robbery.
Yeah.
And then rolls into the draft, and he sued the NFL to enter the draft early because Ohio State had basically washed their hands of him, and he lost that lawsuit. And then he rolls into the next draft, and everybody knows there's like every single warning sign is there, like do not draft this guy. Broncos took him last pick of the third round, and I lost $50 because I had bet a buddy he would not go in the top 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
He made it to the last pick of the third round, and I had to pay my buddy Henry Lake $50.
Mm.
And Claret shows up at training camp. He's overweight, and he's got this water bottle he's taking everywhere with him. And coach is like, what's going on with the water bottle? And eventually some trainer picks up the water bottle. He's got Grey Goose in his water bottle. He's chugging Grey Goose in training camp, and they cut his ass.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Maurice
it's another reason why vodka sucks, folks.
As if you needed another reason why vodka sucks.
You know, he was so amazing too that freshman year at Ohio State. And that's it's a very, very sad story. And it's one of those where when people, you know, with what I do, when people have a problem with alcohol, like there's an actual component of like they're drinking to cope or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's dangerous and scary, and I hope anyone gets help. And I don't know. I know that story, but I've never followed up to find out what happened to him.
Well, I can tell you a little bit.
What happened?
It has a relatively happy ending. He's been sober for a long time. He's does basically a speaking tour on the dangers of alcohol abuse, and he has a business podcast that he does that's about business issues somehow.
Wow.
And so it seems like it's ultimately turned out okay for Maurice Claret, which is good for him.
But I mean, really though, you know, and this goes to a little bit back to, you know, leagues and everything, but the way the NCAA has just kind of like held people's lives in their hands.
Yeah.
You know, that's one where that could have been prevented. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know what would have happened in his life had he gotten that opportunity to be in that draft. But that's one where, you know, he was an adult. He could have went and died for his country. But he couldn't take advantage of his skill sets.
Well, or his name, image, and likeness, which now he could as a high-profile college player, a star running back for Ohio State. He would have made a lot of money on his name, image, and likeness. And then maybe he's not doing armed robbery to get a cell phone and $100, you know, out of some couple. Yeah. So, yeah. NCAA. Ugh.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of those new rules, but at the same time, I understand, and it's so broken. And now that Texas and Oklahoma are going to basically it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it's going to be the haves and have-nots on name, image, and likeness. Well-heeled boosters are going to throw massive amounts of money at kids that they want to attract to their programs. That's going to happen.
What car dealership do you want to play for, son?
Exactly. Exactly. And what car do you want to drive?
Yeah.
That is coming for sure.
Oh boy.
For
sure.
If
it was in Kentucky, you got a bourbon you like, son? Well, I'm not 21, so now that don't matter. Speaking of,
by the way, I want to believe mythically that Kentucky has really relaxed rules on a lot of things that have to do with alcohol. I just wanted to be sort of turn back the clock, not in a dangerous way, but in a romanticized way.
Well, you know, there's absolutely it has on a lot of things, but you got to remember that we are still after Prohibition, the states got the opportunity to make the decisions on their alcohol laws, and that would be passed down to the counties, and that'd be passed down to the townships. So that's why, you know, in the state of Washington, there is a state tax of an ungodly amount on whatever alcohol you buy. I mean, it's like 35%.
Yeah.
And here, you know, if you are a creator of alcohol, your product can be taxed, you know, like I forget the amount, but you end up paying like 60% in taxes before it you know. When you buy it, when you pull it off the shelf, it's like 60% of taxes is basically the bottle.
Jeez.
And you know, so that part of things, it has not progressed a lot. But things like allowing a distiller to sell to an individual at a distillery, there's a lot of lobbying and fighting for that law. Getting people to ship.
Yeah.
We're in a major fight right now in this country to allow alcohol to be shipped. You know, we can ship so many things,
Right.
but
Yes.
not alcohol.
Yeah.
And everyone always says, well, what if a 14-year-old
Right. With
gets
mom's
that
credit
sh-"
card. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? During the pandemic, kids were caught, you know, dressing up as grandmas and going to the liquor stores. You know? So it's just, you know,
Yeah.
FedEx, to me, FedEx is probably more capable of ID checking a kid than a lot of bars are.
Yeah.
So, but we still have a lot of dry counties. You know, we still have a lot of weird blue laws, but you know, for the most part, it has advanced here.
Good. Speaking of advancing, let's advance to our next drink, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
and I will add to the problem drinkers, one of from my alma mater, Oklahoma State, and who had a I don't know where to take you now. I think we're gonna go down a grain highway here. So
Okay.
get your bread mind on.
Bread mind.
Think about breads.
Okay. All right.
Eddie Sutton, the basketball coach for Oklahoma State,
Yeah,
and
classic.
for Kentucky, had a major drinking problem, and he meant a lot to me personally.
Really?
And
How did your paths cross?
Well, I was a student there, and you know,
Mhm.
we won a lot of basketball games, and that was an exciting thing for me to witness and just partake in. But
Okay. When you said personally, I was under the impression you may have had a personal
well,
relationship with
I
him.
guess that would be at that time it felt personal.
Okay.
But like, so Eddie Sutton, you know, incredible human being, but you know, he was always drinking. And you know, I had a distiller tell me that they used to bring him bourbon all the time when he was
Wow.
here,
Yeah.
you know, and it was like, he's like, yeah, we would just pick him up, bring him to the distillery, take him back, you know. And so this is not a good state to be
Mm-hmm.
if you have alcohol problems, because the phone calls from the distillers are very quick.
I bet they are.
They
Well,
are very
especially
quick.
if you're a high-profile basketball coach.
Exactly.
I could really use a case of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have it there in 2 hours.
This is Penelope.
I've never heard of it.
This is called Penelope Bourbon. It's a 4-grain barrel strength. It's made at Castle and Key Distillery. It's contract distilled, 116 proof.
Ooh. All right.
And let's see. I'll tell you what the grains are. Yeah, I don't know them off the top of my head, but
But you know it's 4 grain.
I know there's 4 of them.
Hopefully sand, not one of the grains.
They're not mentioning in here. You
Well,
know, I'm just going to take
wheat.
a guess. Wheat, rye, corn, barley.
Okay, that seems safe, right?
Yeah. And this whole exercise has made me realize that I need a new prescription for my glasses. I'm like,
I noticed that, and I'm thinking to myself, he's the guy wearing glasses. You
Yeah.
should not have a problem.
I can't see. If it's not in my memory bank, you know, and which so much of this stuff is in my memory, I don't even look at the labels.
Mm. Wow. I held that in my mouth a while, and it built up a blast through my sinuses,
Mm-hmm.
almost to a painful level. That was harsh for me. This one was tricky.
It's packing some heat.
It
It's
is.
It's young, and
Whew.
you're also coming off some stellar bourbons.
I am coming off some stellar bourbons.
Let's
This
go
one,
to
this one, Penelope. This was trickier for me.
Let's go to this one. This is Parker's Heritage from Heaven Hill.
Okay.
It's 96 proof. This was from 2013. Are you out of glasses?
My final glass right here.
Yeah, I got more.
Heaven's Hill, you say?
Yeah, Heaven Hill,
Heaven Hill.
and it's a 2013. This was on
Mhm.
my list of best bourbons of the century so far, and money from this bottle and this it goes to raise money for the ALS Foundation.
Oh, fantastic!
Because Parker Beam died of ALS, and he was one of my mentors.
Wow!
So just a great human being, and
I
love a distiller.
I lost a friend to ALS. My wife and I did, and what a brutal process! Just not to bring down the tenor of this amazingly fun podcast,
sure, but
what a worthwhile cause. We could certainly say that.
Absolutely.
And it is, it's not something that you wish on anybody. All right. This one doesn't smell nearly as spicy and proofy as the others.
Oh boy.
That was a good old boy, right? Not the same as a good old boy. Although I'm in Kentucky. Do people throw around good old boy here in Kentucky? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's still, and bourbon's still largely a good old boy.
I got a yawl. I've only been in town for like 4 hours. I got a yawl already, which I thought was great.
I love that you're staying in Jeffersonville.
It seems nice.
Yeah, because you get a great view of the city.
Okay, so let me do my best to describe this one, which after the others feels very tame from a just a spice kick proof standpoint, but it's a very sophisticated flavor sensation that's happening through this. It's not sweet really to me at all. Oily is not. I don't want to say oily because it's not oily, but it doesn't have the same sort of texture to it. Do you know what I'm talking about? How, like some will have some bourbons will have different textures. I'm going to leave just a little bit behind. I don't get fruity. I don't get sweet. I get oaky.
Okay.
I'm
going to throw a note your way.
All right.
I don't want you to take it just because I say it.
Okay.
You have to really think about it.
All right.
Molasses. Which is not necessarily inherently sweet. It's kind of funky sometimes.
And I don't get the sweet part of it, but I get that maple leaf flavor from it that you're describing. I can see that.
Right on.
I can see that. I like it. One of the things that drew my eye to this guy right here is that it looks like it's in a wine bottle.
Yeah.
And you've got to have the bottle is so important to anybody who doesn't know what they're asking for and they're just going by the bottle. The eye appeal of the bottle is so important.
Right.
You better love what's inside the bottle if you put it in this.
All right,
You got to have a lot of confidence.
So this is.
I don't know what it is.
This is from the people who make barrel bourbon. It's Stellum. It's a blend of straight. So this is a distiller. They have distillate from Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee, and blend those bad boys for this. Yeah. And speaking of labels that are hard to read, I have never met anyone.
No, light blue on dark blue is not happening.
And it's like,
it's gonna be 160 proof. And by the way, what is the most proof? What is just all alcohol? What is that proof? Do you know?
So all alcohol would be 100 proof.
100.
I mean, not 100 proof, but 200.
200. Okay.
Proof. So
all right.
Proof is basically doubled alcohol by
percentage.
volume.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
And so, and this is ethanol and vodka are basically made the same way. So they're distilled at 190 proof or above, and basically to be close as possible to pure alcohol. And they just to make vodka, they would
cut it.
They cut it with water.
Yeah.
Or, in the case of Tito's, ship it down to Texas and distill it there, and then cut it with water.
There you go. I love your disdain for vodka. That's fantastic. I think that's great. Let's talk about Max McGee for a minute.
All right.
Are you familiar with this story?
I don't know Max McGee's story.
Max McGee was a relatively famous packer during their early Super Bowl run and their pre-Super Bowl dominating phases with Vince Lombardi. And the story goes like this. It's the night before Super Bowl I. Now, in fairness, the Super Bowl is not yet the Super Bowl.
I also feel like this should have like it's a night before Christmas.
And all through Green Bay.
Not a jockstrap stirring.
Max McGee is a third or fourth string wide receiver who caught 4 passes on the season to set this up. And it's the night before the Super Bowl, and he breaks curfew, sneaks out of the team hotel, and Vince Lombardi's the coach. That takes stones by itself.
Right.
And he finds 2 stewardesses, as they were then called, and decides to spend the night getting hammered with the stewardesses. 6:30 the next morning, he's staggering into the hotel. Bart Starr is coming out of the hotel because he was an early riser who wanted to get a jump on his day, and he sees Max McGee come in, hammered. Game starts. Now it's game day. A few hours later, they're off to the stadium and they're playing the game. 4 plays in, the starting wide receiver, Boyd Dowler, gets knocked out of the game. And now Max has to play. He's still drunk. Max goes on, who caught 4 passes all year. He caught 6 passes, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
Still drunk from the night before.
And, who knows what happened with the
And the stewardesses, that's right.
Cheers to Mr. McGee.
Max McGee.
Wow.
All right.
That's iconic legend stuff right there. Didn't John Daly win a major loaded?
He won 2. He won the PGA and he won the British Open, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was. He's certainly on our list, by the way.
He was always drinking, and I remember
Always.
one thing I remember about him in terms of his alcohol use was he was on the Dan Patrick Show, and he kind of came up, and then he started talking about his wives, and he made the comment
4 of them.
Yeah, and he made the comment. He's like, if my wives aren't having sex with me, I'm going to tell them I'm going to get it somewhere else. And I remember thinking that I was just like, God, what a horrible thing to say to your wife.
Yeah.
I love being married. I love my wife. I can't imagine that. That always bugged me.
Well, and what do you expect back then? So if you say that to your wife, what kind of expectation can you have coming back? That she's going to sit at home while you're on a 4, you're doing 4 straight away events, and she's just going to sit at home?
I think, I'm glad they divorced your ass,
Yeah.
I mean,
He's not a sympathetic character, really.
No, he is not.
Now, when John Daly came on the scene of the PGA, he was a straight-up phenom, and he ended up winning Rookie of the Year for his first year on the tour with the crazy, crazy, crushing drives that he would have that the tour had basically never seen before. And then he parlayed that into wins, especially earlier in his career. He had 17 tour wins, John Daly did. And if you don't remember the early days of John Daly, you'll remember the end when he was staggering around courses. And, at one point I remember him trying to get over a water hazard in one of his later tournaments. And he hits it in the water, and you can just drop. But he's like, no, I'm going to hit it again. Hits it in the water. Doesn't drop. Hits it in the water. 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 Ends up shooting like a 15 on the hole.
Wow.
And and we remember seeing him physically shaking the Diet Coke can in his hand. He's got the cigarette. You're not supposed to smoke on the course when you're in these tournaments, right? He's smoking and he's shaking. And you remember the end of John Daly, but we don't remember the beginning very much when he was. Yeah. It wasn't like he was Tiger Woods for Tiger Woods, but he was an absolute phenom when John Daly.
You got to wonder too if the alcohol didn't come to cope with some of that stuff. Again, going back to when there's problems with alcohol, which I am a professional taster and I work very hard to kind of manage my load, if you will, like the NBA does.
I bet.
And also, it takes a toll on me weight wise, so I have to be careful with the intake. And when I can't taste something, if I can't taste it, I won't touch it. Because that's when I know that I'm drinking to
Too
drink.
much. Yeah.
And not to taste. And so like I have an anniversary, a couple Iraq related anniversaries where I won't taste, because I know that there's a part of me that still is, can be triggered for whatever happened to me there.
Wow.
It's the brain and the palate are so intertwined.
No doubt.
So intertwined. And if you can connect your brain to your palate to understand it, you can prevent yourself from, some of that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll be hanging with some buddies and like, just having a good time. And like, shit, fuck, I gotta, I just had too much. It happens, but that's like in the festive moment. That's not a sipping or trying to be professional kind of thing. It just happens. But that being said, what do you think of Stillum?
I thought this was good, and I liked the. I thought it was also oaky for me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get oak vibes from this?
I get a bitterness, and so that would be kind of fall in that axis, like a walnut shell, pecan shell.
How do you know what shells taste like?
Oh, you ever cracked open a nut? And
sure, but not eating the shell.
But the part of the inside shell gets through there, and it's like real bitter, and it's like it like cuts in from the. You tear it off, and it pulls some of the inside off.
Yeah,
that's the kind of bitterness I'm talking about.
See, you were just saying how the brain influences your palate. When you say molasses, I go, well, yeah, there could be molasses. Now you go, now I don't even know what this inner shell tastes like, but my brain is going. Yeah, Fred's got a really good point. Yeah, that I think I have tasted that. So there two really are. I'm so suggestible this way, but I think many of us are.
That is the beauty of tasting, is like finding your own path. Finding your like connecting your brain to your palate. And that's I've got a lot of stuff that I do that is about teaching people to do that, but it's people have to put in the work. It just doesn't come.
Yeah.
And it is like working out. You have to train, and unfortunately, you tell someone that, like, I just did something with Terry Bradshaw. He's like, my preacher's not a big fan of me doing this. People look at these things as just alcohol and just it's an intoxicant, but it's so much more. It's so much more.
And so we've been talking about athletes and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
You just had Peyton Manning and Cooper Manning on. And we've seen a lot of musicians and now athletes that have got their names on bottles.
Yeah.
Tell me broadly, for me, I'm always super suspicious right away when I see when I see any public person's name on a bottle. If it's, Bob Dylan's got his Heaven's Door,
which is not very good.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky's got one.
By the way, I got somebody from Bob Dylan was doing something, and they reached out to me to want to know if I would open for him in terms of like talking about a cocktail and the whiskey, and they said, we'd love to have you do it. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, what do you think of the whiskey?"
Yeah, right. You might want to ask that too.
I was like, "Oh, it's horrible." Guess who did not get the gig?
That's right. You're not going to get that gig.
See, that's the thing. Is like I cannot lie. I cannot put on a face. I have only put on a face and told someone one time that I thought their whiskey was good, and that was just because I knew they could not handle it.
Wow. Okay.
But I've only done that. I am. You ask me, I'm going to tell you. I'll always give my honest opinion. And the minute I can't do that, I'm out.
Right.
And so,
well, you do that very often, and your integrity starts, taking hits, and the public knows.
Yeah, that's true. And like, I did a blind tasting with Terry Bradshaw's bourbon in a particular price category. And it took second out of a field of, I think, 8. And
it's pretty good, by the way.
Very good. And he was like, I did an event with him. He's like, man, you made my bourbon. He's like nobody. And I bought the bottle. They didn't send it to me.
All right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and I did Charles Woodson's bourbon, and Charles Woodson's
I didn't know Charles Woodson had a bourbon.
Yeah,
All right.
Charles Woodson has a bourbon, and it is completely different. He's rapid aging it, but he's also doing some finishes with it. Charles also has a wine. He has some wine that's pretty good.
Okay.
But Charles is doing his thing. Terry's doing his thing. I mean, there's a lot of these people.
Okay. Rapid aging. I think this is bullshit. I know. Part of it's because I've only tasted a couple, and it's been, to me, barely drinkable, and so my sample size is pretty small.
You want to taste Charles' stuff?
Sure. Here's where I don't understand the whole rapid aging thing. Fred, have you ever gone into the liquor store and said, you know what I want? I want an 8-week-old whiskey. Yeah, nobody. It's not anything anybody wants. I don't understand why the rapid aging is something that you can enter into the marketplace and just think that you're solving a marketplace problem. Is this unfair?
This is not a consumer. This is not a consumer pull. This is an industry push.
Absolutely.
Because it takes everything that we have. The youngest thing we have tasted to date was this here. It's a little over 2 years old.
Okay.
Everything else was, 5 and over.
Yeah.
You're starting a company. You want to wait 5 years before you get the barrels?
That's the hard part. You have no income for 5 years.
No income for 5 years.
And by the way, you might uncork it at the end of 5 years and go, it's trash.
Yeah. I mean,
now
so
what?
that's where they are. So this has been going on since the 1800s. People trying to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And I wrote about this for the University of Oxford. And it's like, I chronicled like all these people who have created these methods and that are being reused today, and they have all failed. Where we are different today is that they have better processes. And I swear to God, I recently tasted one that was a rye. I was like, holy shit. This has...
Pretty good?
This has crossed the line.
Okay.
And it was Derek Jeter's.
Really?
Derek Jeter has a piece of it.
Okay. Is his name on it?
I don't think his name is on it, but it's called Bespoken Spirits.
Okay.
And then you have all these other people who are a lot of people are putting their names on it and everything. But this is Charles Woodson's. He does one of the processes. But the thing that he does that is different, where this one stands out a little bit differently, is that he's finishing it in wine barrels. So you get a little accent of some of the wine there.
Okay. It's the color is very...
That's light, man.
Yeah, it's very light, and it should be.
It's straw color.
And the smell is...
But what these processes are doing are normally trying to take out the higher alcohols, which would eventually be like diffused by the barrel.
It's not bad. There's not much. There isn't a lot of flavor here. It doesn't have the harshness I usually associate with young whiskey.
Yeah, so that's
so
Charles. That's Charles Woodson's, man. I mean, so that's like him.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's got. The thing about Charles is he's a hustler. He's out there pushing it. And that's
which is a big deal.
That it's everything. But like,
difference.
if you are a bar in Las Vegas and you want to do a cocktail, you're putting this up against Jim Beam, Basic Evan Williams. Those. And if Charles is going to come in to do a dinner for you,
that changes things.
That changes everything. And that's what he's doing. And that's like why he's got like a little bit of an edge. Is because when you see the people who are behind the brands go out and push them, you see a difference, and Charles is an absolute hustler, good guy too.
Is he great? I've been, having watched and listened to many of your podcasts, I've been really impressed with the athletes you've had on and how articulate they are. How smart they are. In many cases, how well they even know this business.
Yeah.
Indomitian Sue.
Yeah.
Super sharp guy.
Yeah.
Really sharp. Cooper Manning seems like even more fun than Peyton Manning. I mean, if I had to hang out with one of them, I think I'd rather hang out with Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, somebody may end up in jail if you have a night with Cooper. That was my takeaway. Let's just say there were some edits that were made
good
by my choice. Yeah, and there are a lot of athletes getting in the game. Ed Belfour.
Oh, no kidding.
The
goalie. Yeah.
Hall of Fame goalie has a
Mhm.
brand out, and unfortunately, not too long after he came out with this, he got like arrested for like a public intox.
Ooh.
And like,
yeah, that's the tricky side of this, right?
I mean, you got to be responsible.
We've got got somebody whose name I won't use in Minnesota, who is a great guy, who launched a vodka line, and then it went through a very, very public bout with alcoholism and recovery. And he's in the middle of that, and he's still trying to push his vodka, but it's hard when you're recovering, very public recovering alcoholic, and it's
hard to sell. It's hard to sell alcohol, but which, by the way, Ed has not gone on the wagon. He's, as far as I know.
Okay. By the way, beautiful bottle, Ed. If you're watching, fantastic bottle. This is beautiful. This looks like something you would see in a Art Deco 1938. Bar. It's really, really nice.
So you asked for George T. Stagg when we came in.
Well, and why not, right?
And I had one itty bitty sample left here. This is the 2020 George T. Stagg. And so let's go ahead and kill this.
All right, deal.
This is what friendship's all about.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I must rate pretty high, and I got a deeper pour than you did.
Well, don't tell Zabe, because I didn't give him anything nearly this good.
He didn't get Pappy, I don't think.
No, he didn't get Pappy. But he also brought like 15 people. So.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, and they were like rating everything.
An entourage? What do you mean?
He brought his mobile strike studio in.
Okay.
And they had all these people. We got pizza, and then I hear all these bottles getting clammed. You know what? I did bust out some good stuff for them, just not on camera.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad you did not Pappy.
No, he didn't.
You
get
can't.
Pappy.
No,
he
exactly. And believe me, I'm going golfing with him in a couple of days. He's going to hear about it.
I love it.
I gotta have this over Zabe, right?
So I want to point out, some other really big athletes that have brands or pieces of brands.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan owns one. He's an owner in Sincora Tequila. So that just came out. It's a bottle. The bottle is shaped like after an agave leaf.
Okay.
Really beautiful bottle. So the greatest, of course.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Proper 12 just sold for $600 million back to Proximo.
Oh my God.
So
didn't that thing start like 2 years ago?
Yeah,
Did they go 0 to 600 million that fast?
Yes.
Wow.
His what he did for that brand was like amazing.
Wow.
And his partner on that, Ken Austin, is a longtime friend of mine, and he was telling me like how great of a business partner he is.
Really?
And like Conor, he's just like, there's just all that stuff out there about Conor, but he's really just an amazing business mind for this space.
Yeah.
And like that made me wonder, like, if some of that stuff wasn't put up, like some of those like getting punching the old man in the bar.
Yeah, right.
Was
right.
Just like
that
a shtick.
Right. And it might have been.
Yeah.
It could have been because it kind of worked, right?
I mean, like they're always Zabe always says, was it a work?
Right. You wonder.
So we talked about Terry Bradshaw, Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, Ed. Wayne Gretzky has his own company. He's got wine. He's got.
I've seen whiskey.
He's got whiskey.
Yeah.
He's got some liqueurs. One I think is probably my favorite to talk. One of my favorites to talk about is Drew Bledsoe.
What?
Drew Bledsoe has a
business.
winery in Washington.
Really?
Yeah, called Doubleback, and I've tasted the wine. It's very good. He's his blender, and so
he's his own blender.
He's his own blender.
Okay,
and so he's kind of known in Washington, and he's a really good. The wine's good.
Wow.
And so he's that's where he went, and and he, of course, incredible football career.
Yeah.
He's not a Hall of Famer, I don't think, but just
but but it was a good long career.
good long career.
And he deserves better than to be remembered as the guy Tom Brady ultimately replaced, because his career was so much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, he did get a ring, but he also played in a Super Bowl without Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's a great point. You shouldn't forget that.
So my two, let's taste this, and then I'll tell you about two that will blow your mind.
Really?
After this.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So this is George T. Stagg, 2020. Ooh,
yeah. Ooh, that's sharp. And I don't mean that in the usual way. Wow, is that different?
I think
holy cow!
120 proof, I think.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's proofy, but it doesn't just like bam alcohol. It's really warm, as you can imagine. 120
Do you want to add
proof.
some water to it?
No.
Yeah, sure. Got a little drum here.
No,
right.
I don't think so. A little licorice for me in here.
A little black licorice.
Yep, black licorice. Yep. I don't know what other flavors I'm having a hard time articulating the other flavors I'm getting, but man, is it sophisticated, Fred.
Yeah.
This is good.
Save that one to taste up against
I will.
The others.
These are in order. You can't really tell here. I'm building.
I mean, you've been doing a good job keeping them in order.
Thank you. Yeah. Of course, we may not be able to remember the order that we did these in anymore.
I don't remember which one we were on.
Right.
They got one more.
Might end up coming to that. I heard that Sammy Hagar made more money off the sale of his tequila than he made in his rock and roll career.
Yeah, well, Sammy Hagar... Oops.
Just put that anywhere, Fred.
Sammy Hagar is... are you out of glasses?
I am. Which is pretty impressive.
Yeah? You want to go grab?
I'll be right back. I'll grab a couple more.
I know. Like the other day, we had a waiter who was... he brought only like 4 waters. I was like, bro, where's mine? And he's like, oh, I'm getting it with back. And I'm so used to like people like you go to these Mexican restaurants, they have like 2 arms out like that.
Right. How do you do that?
It's crazy.
I could never do that.
Oh God, no! I break so many things.
Yeah.
But you know what? Good for them and their delts. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. So this is Uncle
Nearest.
Uncle Nearest. Now, Uncle Nearest is named after Nearest Green, who is the former enslaved person that taught the Jack Daniel how to distill. And Fawn Weaver, who is a really good friend of mine, brought back his his legacy, and as this is the fastest growing spirit in the world right now.
Really?
I mean, they're
wow,
crushing it.
I can tell you this much from some guy in Minnesota. When I ask, what are you drinking tonight? Here's what I'm having. What are you drinking? I get all these people that have been talking about Uncle Nearest, and I hadn't even heard about it until a couple of years ago, and it's got a big following now.
Yeah, yeah. Fawn is she's otherworldly, man. She's amazing.
Really.
Yeah.
Tell me about women in the distillery business. In my mind, it's predominantly men, not entirely men.
Well, I'll be happy to send you home with one of my books.
Whiskey Women.
The untold story of how women say bourbon, Scotch, and Irish whiskey.
No kidding. You happen to know a great deal about this subject.
You didn't know I wrote this?
I did not know you wrote that. In part because you've written so many books.
Charch, I'm going to tell you something right now. I haven't told anybody. I've been doing so much of this podcast and video stuff. I'm having a hard time writing right now.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, I mean, because it's like my mind is now like message this, message that, record this, do that, do this, do this. And honestly, I make more money on YouTube than I ever did writing for a magazine.
Wow, I bet.
It's like I get far more rewards for doing this sort of thing. And also, people never knew my personality. It was just my writing.
Yeah.
And people were like, I was like, oh, I thought you were just a dick. And like, you kind of, or I thought you were a stuck-up snob because you were an ass guy. You're actually kind of cool. Oh, yeah, well, fuck you. I mean,
you know, like, still a dick. But,
yeah.
but it's a fun dick. There's that.
There you go. but you know, I wrote an article for Forbes the other day, and I was like, I mean, it took me forever to write something that would have taken me like 30 minutes. You know?
You know, as somebody that's worked in radio for a long time, you know, to me, it's just so, you can be so much more articulate. You can express yourself in so many ways. And well, I love the written word, and I still do a ton of writing. Almost all of it's fantasy football related, but nevertheless, you know, you just get to express yourself in a way that it's just hard to do when you're doing something even as noble as whiskey women.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to just show who you are, that's, yeah.
I love this. I mean, I really do. And I've written 7 books, and I loved every aspect of it. But, you know, when Podcast One picked me up, that kind of was like, I don't know, that was like one of the greatest feelings, because this is not my lane. And I, you know, in the past year, this was forced upon me as my lane, because I lost so much, you know, in the pandemic, and podcasting and YouTubing was like my only sources of revenue.
Yeah.
And it just, it blossomed, and they were like, we'd love to have you. Now they look at me as kind of like an access to the liquor brands, don't get me wrong. And I'm happy for that.
It is easy, right? I mean, it's a natural sell, isn't it?
Yeah, but they didn't go to other people, you know. And it was just like, that was a very exciting thing for me to have them approach me, and I'm just ecstatic about it.
It's validating. You've earned it.
And you're on the iHeart side. How does that work?
I am on the iHeart side, yeah. So I got my podcast is called Fantasy Football Weekly. Available, well, they're all available on all the platforms.
#1 fantasy podcast out there.
Oh boy, thank you. Yeah. But our deal is through iHeart. iHeart, they say they're #1 for podcasts. I don't know what that means, but that's what they say. And
I think they all say that.
Yeah, they probably do. They probably do. But there's a certain validation that you get with that, which is great, and you get a promotion and different things, which is really nice. Yeah, Uncle Nearest, this is pretty darn good. Sweet. I get sweeter than the other things we've had. I wouldn't call it a sweet.
All right, bourbon. So this is a barrel pick that I did. So this is a single barrel of theirs. I picked this. It's north of 11 years old.
Ooh.
And now that I'm tasting it, like, I'm going back in time in my head, tasting it with Richie and my friend Chris, and I get this beautiful note of, wait for it, marzipan, which is when I taste that, which is the honey almonds kind of note, it's like gorgeous. By the way, look at that. We've been going for an hour and 23 minutes.
I know. Does anybody get to the end?
Oh, people will listen to this because they're just waiting for me to, like, bitch about somebody or something. So like, oh, he's got a few in him now.
On somebody.
Yeah.
And the more drinks, the more likely that is to happen. I work for a talk radio station in the Twin Cities called KFAN. It's a sports talk radio station. And people often say, oh, tell me about, this host. Oh, tell me about Dan. What's he really like? And to get to your point about talking about expressing ourselves in this kind of medium.
Right.
When you talk for 100 and how many minutes, or an hour and how long? 100, it's sooner or later you become yourself.
Yeah.
And so when people say, what is Dan really like? What is Fred really like? So you can't fake it. If you're going to talk for 3 hours every day,
right,
you can't fake that anymore. It's exactly who you hear. Mm-hmm. That's the person that most of these.
Now, the real reason why I invited you over, I'm having some electrical issues at my house.
I'm not I have now, as you now know, apparently I wired my house for electric in my basement, and I learned a lot. I did.
Oh man! So my father and my cousin, they're electricians.
They are. All right.
I have no skills there. I'm like half afraid I'll electrocute myself.
Nothing better than knowing an electrician. That's even better than being an electrician.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's That is like that's some legit stuff. And for those who don't follow Paul, he basically rewired his entire house from scratch. No experience with it at all, and like. I mean, I struggle fixing my damn toilet switch. You know, I mean, the other day I fixed so our toilet's broke again. Like the thing's like broke.
Yeah, right.
And so like for the last year, it's been like, it like takes forever to fill up and it just snapped. And so I go to Lowe's and I pick up the materials, the little handle thing.
Sure.
And
they've got a repair kit.
They got repair kits, but they got the easy one and the hard one. I got the really easy one.
Yeah.
And so I got it going, and then it didn't work. And Jacqueline's like, what happened here? What'd you do? I was like, well, I have my own way of fixing things, and I didn't follow the directions. She's like, go to the store right now, get the other one, and do not come back, and you follow the directions.
I love it.
So I'm like, okay, I will.
What I learned is through my I had an unfinished basement. And so I took it from unfinished to finished with the exception of drywall, plumbing. And I didn't lay my own carpet. Some people are like, did you buy carpet? Yes. Did you put it down? Well, no. I paid somebody to put it down. But I did all the rest. And the electric was the best litmus test. And as it turns out, for most homeowner-grade electric stuff, if you just compartmentalize every step of the process, they're all super easy. It's just that the totality of it is a lot. And the almost impossibility of you electrocuting yourself is this fear that's in your head. But unless you are really, you're really not paying attention to what you're doing and you have no care for safety, that's not going to happen. And it turned out the electric was not even, probably one of the 5 biggest challenges as a category. Like putting my baseboards and my doors ended up being a lot harder at the end of the day for what I had to do.
Hit your thumb or something trying to put the door in or something.
The hard part of the door is getting it perfectly leveled. And that part is really, and it's, it's a door frame and the casing. You don't even want to know. But at the end of the day, you can do it.
I'm hiring somebody for that. Door.
Yeah, I don't blame you. With all the podcast revenue for the people that are watching 90 minutes in.
All right. So so thumbs up on the Uncle Nearest.
Yeah, this is really good. Tip of the hat to the Uncle Nearest. Now, is this one that I can find anywhere near me?
No. This won't be one you can find.
I'm not going to be able to find this anywhere else. That's too bad. I saw one other bottle. It's right there.
Yeah.
The 1856.
Yeah, you'll be able to find that one.
Here's 1856. But with the one you really want is the 1820, apparently.
Yeah.
They've
got a few others out too, like the Master's Blend, but they're crushing on all the stuff they're doing.
Good for them. That's great. Just speaking of random year numbers, Old Forester I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
But the 1920 is my jam.
It's another level great.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. 1920 is fantastic.
And you can find it everywhere.
Yes. And it's not that expensive.
No.
Maybe, $45-ish dollars, at least in Minnesota.
Yeah.
For how we tax our liquor. That's not bad.
Y'all like your taxes. But you got to do it for the heating there. It's so cold all the time.
Yeah, it is. You think we should be saving our own money to pay our heating bills?
So, 2 athletes I want to bring up.
Oh, good.
Kind of crushed it in the did you know kind of category.
All right.
Carmelo Anthony.
Really?
An enormous wine connoisseur.
No idea.
So when he's on the road, he'll be doing wine tastings with his fellow players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think his career is winding down, but he's a huge wine connoisseur. He was just on the cover of Wine Spectator.
No way.
For whom I used to write. But it is that is one of the greatest honors that can ever be bestowed upon anybody to be
on the cover
of Wine Spectator. It's
all right.
Sports Illustrated. It's like how Sports Illustrated used to be.
Yeah, when Sports Illustrated mattered.
God, remember the Rick Riley days when his column? I loved his column.
What a big deal that was to be on the cover. I've still got a couple squirreled away of Sports Illustrated from my youth when the Twins won the World Series, and
Kirby Puckett.
Kirby Puckett. I know.
What a great player.
Oh, he was fantastic. Those were very important times for me. And by the way, the last championship in Minnesota, Kirby Puckett, 1991. We've gone, and just the 4 major sports, we've gone 109.
I thought y'all won a hockey one, though.
Nope.
Wild, right?
Nope. We have not. We've gone 109 seasons combined in the 4 major sports without a championship in Minnesota. Well, Cleveland has blown by us. It's sad.
Well, I mean, that was because of one player, but
sure.
Yeah, but I mean, you all had a couple spots here and there, but I always thought the Vikings with Favre were amazing.
That was a fun season.
They were great.
2009. That was kind of magic when he showed up. He had all the animosity for the Packers that we've always had for the Packers. What you guys don't understand, although maybe you do because you're a border town here.
Yeah.
So maybe you get it. The Twin Cities are on the border of Wisconsin, and Western Wisconsin is our suburbs. We have Twin City suburbs, St. Paul suburbs that are in Wisconsin. And what happens is you grow up in Wisconsin, you go to like Madison, you're a huge Packer fan. It's in the blood. Everybody in Wisconsin's a Packer fan. But then you decide, Fred, I'd like to get a job. I'd like to marry somebody with all my teeth, all the teeth. I'd like to see a building taller than a silo. So you come to Minneapolis and you bring with you all the arrogance that comes with 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacking.
Right.
And man, do these Packer fans feel an entitlement to winning. And they will tell you all about it. To us starving Viking fans that know nothing but frustration.
And I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he can actually bring you to the title. And when he does, he'll do it quietly.
He will do it quietly. You are right about that.
I think
he's a class act for sure.
I think Cousins is one of. I would love to have a bourbon with him. I had a bourbon with
Kyle.
Probably
would have one with you.
Yeah, I mean, I had one Kyle Rudolph.
Oh, did you?
Kyle Rudolph
is a good
dude. Now he's with the Giants, but
that's right.
But he loved him some Cousins. So
yeah, and you know what? Cousins is a good quarterback. Kyle's a really good dude too. I've done a number of things with him in town. Yeah, a lot of charity work in the Twin Cities, and gonna finish his career, as a backup for the Giants, and that's fine.
Listen, that's you as an athlete, they know they always feel like they have one more in them. Yeah, and I applaud that. I love that fight.
Sure, you don't go down. You don't just decide to hang him up. Most don't. You find out the hard way.
And he's an all-pro. Yeah. I mean, he's going to mentor. He's a great person. I mean, I think that's where we go always with Kyle. He's a great human being.
No, he is. That is 100% true. So, was he on your show at some point?
Yeah, he was on my show very early on.
Was he?
Yeah, we have we have a charity partner of interest that we work with together, and they connected us, and so yeah, I mean what I do with charities is I go and I curate things, I bring bottles and we auction them off.
Oh, sure.
We do stuff like that, and in my career, been close to north of 2 million of things that I've helped with.
Wow.
And when I'm talking like I'll be an auctioneer, and it's not like they're buying me, or anything like that. But I will put myself up for auction for private tastings and things. But one auction that I did, $500,000.
What?
$500,000. Like people buying $75,000 barrel picks back to back. So
wow.
So there's been a couple of those. And that's the thing is bourbon is a philanthropic community, and you are a part of it.
All right.
You're a part of it. You're getting into it. You're still in that kind of phase of you're really excited. You're about learning. Soon you're going to go to the store and look for something that you couldn't find, that you used to be able to find every day. And now you can't find it. You're going to start hating it.
Oh, tell me about it. I've been doing this long enough to experience that. For sure. I think we were talking off camera before we started. You ruined McKenna. And McKenna was a winner in one of my blind tastings from like 4 years ago. So it popped on my radar. I was like, wow, this is really good. And it's like $38.
Yeah.
And you freaking wrecked it. And I hold you responsible. I've seen it on a shelf twice in the last 2 years.
And to this day, I love McKenna. I love that brand. I love that whiskey. To this day, I can't find it.
No.
So when I do private, I do a lot of private tastings, and I'll always try to squeeze McKenna.
I bet. I bet. I don't blame you.
So I want to tell you about one more.
Good. We have another athlete. All right, good.
Who had a connection to football.
All right.
Tom Fears, Pro Football Hall of Famer, LA Rams wide receiver.
I don't know that name.
We're talking 40s, 50s.
Okay. All right.
He played. That's when he played 9 years. His stats were 5,397 yards, 38 touchdowns. All-American at UCLA.
Wow.
Had a break from the league to go fight for his country in World War II.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
And back then they didn't make money like they did today.
No.
So they had to go get a job.
Yes.
And he was a sales rep for Schenley, which was then the largest spirits company in the world.
What?
And I happen to have a brand that he would have been schlepping back then. Little old Schenley bottle and bond.
What in the world is this?
This is from
Old Schenley.
Old Schenley bottle and bond, 6 years old, and the year on this is 1942.
What?
1942.
Shut up! I just held a 1942 bottle in my hand.
1940. This is the original cork.
No way. Now, don't you worry that the cork has degraded in some way and that air's been seeping in?
You can tell. Like this one is still in such good condition.
We're gonna have some of this.
We're gonna have some of it.
This is the oldest thing that's ever entered my body by like 70 years.
I don't even know where to go.
Old Schenley, 1942.
Yeah, so you can see the date there. That this is a bottle of bond, and they put when it was distilled and when it was bottled.
Look at that! Oh my God! So now they don't age, they don't get better. Once they're in the bottle, this is not wine. So how close is what we are going to taste right now? How close is this to the same flavor that somebody was getting in 1942?
This particular bottle, which kept very well, will be very close, but not. This cork is perfect. It's a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
The seal is still the seal is still very tight, but a lot of them they were not tight. They were misconfigured. A lot of people did not store them properly.
I bet.
And so this is about as perfect as you can get.
Wow. So how did you get this bottle?
Well, I get a lot of them. This one, I'm pretty. So I bought this one from a guy who used to, whose grandpa was a distiller. For this company.
That makes sense.
And this was made in Indiana at Old Quaker Distillery.
Okay. Is that still a thing? I assume not.
No, it's not around anymore.
Okay.
However, its competitor was made at this,
that
one, that's
Wagon?
a former Seagram's plant.
Okay.
But so this is 1942.
This is an 80-year-old.
We are just now entering World War II.
Wow.
Our country
the Allies are losing the war. The U-boats are dominating the Atlantic.
Yeah.
They're sinking all the ships and all the goods that we're trying to send to Britain. I mean, think about that. Wow.
And in terms of sports, you had horse racing, baseball,
track.
Track.
People cared about track and field then.
It was still not common for men to wear shorts in public.
Right. Yeah. We'd be wearing a hat and a tie.
Hat and tie.
Ascot, perhaps, wherever we went.
Maybe an ascot.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's underdressing back then.
1942. This is so cool, Fred. Okay.
still tastes pretty good.
It does. I wouldn't know if I didn't know, Fred. It's oaky. It tastes like it, to me, it's about 90 proof, I would guess.
Well, it's bottled in bond, so it's 100
Oh, it's 100. It's a bottle of bond.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What are you getting off this?
Well, this is layered for me. It's not youthful. You know, when I say youthful, it's more leathery, more cigar box, more tobacco-y.
Yeah.
There's some licoricey there. But you know, I would throw this in any flight today. It's still good.
What a treat. Leathery is very apt for this.
I happen to eat a lot of leather on a regular basis.
It tastes like I think leather should taste without knowing what leather should taste
Well,
like.
if you grow up around horses, you eventually chew one on, you know, some leather reins at some point.
Yeah.
You know. All right, so we can go through and do a retaste. Take a break. Whatever you want to do.
I'm up for a retaste of some
All right.
of these.
So let's retaste.
All right.
Let's retaste the Pappy.
Yeah.
See where you are with the Pappy.
Okay, hold on. I want to
Rinse your palate out.
Right on.
Now you see why I had you prep in advance, right?
Had I known we were going to be 10 in, yeah. I'm really glad you did.
Did you eat beforehand?
I did.
Good.
Which is smart too. Feeling great. By the way, we haven't mentioned Billy Martin yet.
Oh my God, the Yankees manager.
The old Yankees manager. Do you know how many times? You know, you probably know he was the Yankee manager more than once. You know how many times he was the Yankee manager?
3 times?
5 times.
What?
How do you get fired 4 times and then hired a 5th time? That's crazy. By the way,
He's good at interviews.
great player. This is the part about Billy Martin I didn't know. He was a really, really good player. 1953 World Series MVP. 5-time champion.
Random, but why isn't Roger Maris in the Hall of Fame?
Well, because I think as a player, he was a very good player, not a great player.
Mhm.
We know him more just because of the card, the baseball card, than
But 61
player.
homers, man.
61 homers is pretty damn good.
I feel like, you know, that alone should get him in.
All right, back to Pappy. So you told me this is 120 proof?
7.
107 proof.
Yeah.
Thank you. And this is the 15.
Yep.
How has Pappy elevated itself to be in the status that it's in, Fred? In that it's become a $1,000 bottle that people will willingly play.
Let's talk about the story of Pappy. First, Pappy is a very real person. He was an iconic distiller owner after Prohibition until his death, and before that, he was a sales rep. He basically changed a lot of bourbon for the better. Very, very, very important person.
How did he change it for the better? Just through quality and
So he was an independent.
Okay.
And distilleries were becoming conglomerates. They were one of the very first industries in the United States that became conglomerates. So like you would have a distillery company would also own a pharmaceutical company, and they would own like a tire company. I mean, they would all that kind of thing, you know. And so he was like a small player in a sea of conglomerates, the big 4 at the time. And there was an effort to fix prices in liquor stores during World War II. And during World War II, the country said, you can no longer make whiskey. We need the grains, but we'd love for you to make industrial alcohol so we can use it in the war effort. And so they would, basically, distillers would fix their stills to make industrial alcohol or ethanol or whatever.
Sure.
and that would be used to make parachutes, all kinds of stuff. And they during that time, they were going in and buying up a bunch of independent independent distillers, or because they couldn't afford to shift their stills to make industrial alcohol.
So you could get these distillers on the cheap at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if they had a little bit of stocks in them,
even better.
Even better. But they were also working together. The larger companies were working together to price out all the smaller players.
Okay.
And Pappy testified before the Senate and Congress to talk about what was going on, and he was like one of the last vestiges of independent distilling during that time, and so he kind of held that line. He was also a believer in using a recipe that used wheat instead of rye, which rye was the most common secondary grain in bourbon. And Old Fitzgerald and Weller, which was his brands, was what he pushed forward.
Wait, isn't Weller in the Buffalo Trace family, or am I just wrong?
It is now.
Okay,
it is now.
Okay, all right.
Back then, it was under a company called Stitzel Weller.
Okay.
Anyway, he dies in the mid-1960s. His son is unable to hold the company together. The other family members sell their shares, effectively selling off Stitzel Weller in 1972 to a conglomerate called Norton Simon.
Okay.
Norton Simon also started a Canada Dry distilling company in Kentucky.
Okay.
So there was Canada Dry Bourbon.
What?
For a brief amount of time.
Wow. All right.
And so, but the Van Winkles never lost that fire to be in bourbon. And so they started their own private label, and they started Older Van Winkle, and they started making their own whiskey, and getting stocks from other people and blending them. And Julian Van Winkle, who is Pappy's grandson, acquires a facility in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and he starts bottling stuff, and he's just he's not doing well. He's like trading bottles for magazine ads, for cars.
Okay. Yeah.
The roof is leaking. He struggles to make payroll. Week after week, it's like, is this the week that I have to fold?
Wow.
And then one day in the 1990s, late 1990s, he gets a 99-point score by the Beverage Tasting Institute.
Oh my God. And everything changes.
Everything changes. Everybody wanted his product. Buffalo Trace called him and said, "Hey, would you like a partner?" And at that time, he's like, "Oh man, I can't take it anymore. I mean, yeah, we got some acclaim here, but I can't make it."
Yeah. And
so he partnered, and then everything started going up. So anytime that anyone ever brings up, is Pappy overrated? Is it overhyped? I'm like, do you know the story?
Yeah, right.
I mean, if anybody deserves this fame, it's that guy. But the flaw that they have in their system is that they continue to price lower than its demand. So they price it at a point where they feel like the ordinary Joe can get a bottle, because that's their belief. That's what they want.
Okay, but the reality is nothing like that.
No. And it's like, they may price it at $3.29. It goes in the liquor store, it's $1,200. It gets flipped on the secondary market, $2,500.
Oh.
And then $5,000.
Right.
I mean, that's the economics of it.
Yeah.
And so if they just did the SRP at like $1,000, then that would probably fix it.
You think so?
I mean,
wouldn't the store still get it and then just mark it up from 1,000?
But would people buy it? I think that's the question. I don't know.
They're already buying it at 1,000. It seems like.
I know this, that I work with the Ronald McDonald House out here.
Yeah.
We get the entire collection of Pappy, and we do raffles. Last year we raised, or earlier this year, we raised $175,000.
Wow! Off of how many bottles? 6.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So someone buys a $200 raffle ticket.
So it's averaging like $18,000 a bottle.
But it's like, if you buy a $200 raffle ticket or $250, you're
Right.
like, I got a shot.
You
That's
got a
like,
shot,
and it's
right.
not killing you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
It's money. Well, it's great that it raises that much money. And so did they ultimately sell out to somebody else, or did they just partnered with somebody else?
they still own 51%.
All right, good for them.
So they
All
still
right.
own the majority.
Good for them.
But I mean, there are signs of like, the sisters have been very vocal about wanting to get a tequila out. I mean, there's, I don't know where things will go with them, but I know this. It's a strong brand, and
Yeah,
it's
a very strong brand. So, like all of whiskey, when you hit a point of sudden and unexpected popularity, you don't have the reserves built up to meet demand.
Right.
Now, Pappy's been pretty damn popular for a while now, not at the levels it is now. This is totally different, but is there more product coming?
Yeah, I mean, they've been laying a lot down, and they get first right of refusal on the barrels there, but
well, they're their own barrels. What do you mean? Of course they have first right of refusal, don't they?
Well, it's at Buffalo Trace, and there's Weller there, and there's been people who've stolen their stuff. So I mean,
literally stolen their stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a whole thing on Netflix about it. Which if you watch a Netflix documentary on it, you'll see my head at the press conference.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in the press conference.
Okay, wait. So thieves are stealing barrels of Pappy.
It happened. Yeah.
Really?
It's not happening now, but it did happen. Yeah.
That's a great heist story right there.
Yeah.
Is it a good story? Do we know who did it? Did they get?
Yeah.
Was there justice?
Yeah, he served time.
Okay.
He's already out and already has a deal with Netflix. So.
Yeah. How about that? He served time and now he gets to tell his story and make a bunch of money off it.
Yeah.
Because he stole Pappy.
It bothered me actually.
Yeah, it should bother you. It doesn't seem like it should be that way.
No, but it's
the victim should not make money on this, or the perpetrator should not make money on it.
Yeah, and everybody hates the Van Winkles. Everybody hates the Van Winkles over that and subsequent things, and that always bothers me.
Yeah, it should.
Because the Van Winkles are just, they have made some miscalculated errors, but I think it's because they don't fully grasp what their brand has become all the time. And like, they worked with people to shut down the secondary market on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So they worked with Facebook to do that. And I think that came back and bit them.
Why?
Because people got that like, oh, how dare you?
Yeah, interfere with my,
I know. Yeah. I mean, anyway, so what was your favorite?
Well, okay.
You want to taste anything again?
Give me one more of the Michters, which I thought was, when I had it, I thought was fantastic.
All right.
If you don't mind.
Do you remember your glass?
Yeah, I do. It's this one right here. I've kept them in order. That was the second one we tried. Of our 10, 11, whatever.
All right. Here you go.
Michter's is can you tell me a little bit about the Michter's story? I know you can.
Yeah.
But as somebody that doesn't know it intimately like you do, all I know is the product at the end of the day seems really good.
I'll go to my Michter's. Yeah, so Michter's is historically a Pennsylvania brand.
Okay.
So Pennsylvania used to make bourbon, but they were really kind of an iconic rye distillery. And the facility at which they were made was thought to be, or historically said to be, a facility that was started in 1753 and served George Washington's troops during the Revolutionary War.
Wow. Okay.
Because they prescribed whiskey. They always had whiskey with them, and people just fucking drank a lot back then.
They did drink a lot back then. Yes.
And so it was a Pennsylvania brand.
Okay.
It was Baumburgers before it was kind of known as Michter's. Michter's comes out in the 1950s. The guy who was the founder of it named it after his two children, Michael and Peter. M-I-C-H for Michael.
Yeah.
And the T-E-R.
I had no idea. Okay.
And so he's not a very good business person. He doesn't do he has a lot of things that he does that works a little bit, but never can get over the hump that he's in Pennsylvania, and he doesn't have a collective of distillers around him. 1987, basically company just falls, and another company comes in and acquires the trademarks.
Okay.
Chatham Imports, which is kind of like loosely connected to people in the distribution business in the East Coast,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe Magliocco is the person who acquires it and starts sourcing whiskey from other people, but he's not doing it from people in Pennsylvania. He's buying Kentucky bourbon.
Okay.
And so this historic Pennsylvania brand moves toward a Kentucky brand. So that's basically like the fucking Boston Red Sox.
Yankees. Yeah, right.
And it was like
Hatfields and McCoys.
it was huge when that happened, and when it started surfacing. The people from Pennsylvania were fucking irate.
Really?
And they were going after him all the time, calling him out all the time. And
he's a traitor.
And then, they built their own distillery. They had 3 phases. The first phase was they were buying product from other people.
Mm-hmm.
The second phase was they were contract distilling, and then they had their own facilities.
Okay.
So now they have their own distillery that they're making whiskey out of.
How long have they been barreling at that facility?
I think they started distilling in 2012.
Okay.
Between 2012 and 2014.
Okay.
And so, like, this would have been what we're tasting now would have been a contract distillate from when they had a contract with Brown-Forman, which I'm very proud to say. One of the things that I'm most proud of in my career is that I have disclosed everything for everybody, and so they didn't have to.
Yeah.
So in my book, Bourbon Curious, I talk about that they had a relationship with Brown-Forman,
Yeah.
and that's where their distillate came from.
That seems fair.
It was just good old-fashioned reporting, you know?
Yeah, right.
And so that's where it started. But now, I mean, it's a great team. They have a great, they have a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm in their visitor center as like giving a video about them. I've sipped their whiskey with a lot of people, and
including me right now. Michter's right now.
Right now, absolutely. And they're one of those that when people from the old guard in Pennsylvania come out and they're like, you know what, we were wrong. We were we were a little
really?
too hard.
That would feel good.
Yeah, so it's an interesting story because it's kind of like they've gone full circle. And by the way, that 1753 story with George, serving George Washington,
yeah,
total bullshit.
It is. Okay.
I mean, it was an old facility, but there was no
not that.
But there was no verifiable anything. It was
okay.
Like, that came out in like the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Just to prove that, like, they make shit up all the time in whiskey.
Welcome to marketing 101, right? that's okay.
No one can disprove it.
Yeah. So, all I know is it tastes good.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
I don't care if they're getting it from whatever. Brown and Simon. No, Brown-Forman.
Brown and Simon sounds like a good company.
Yeah, I think it's a book publisher, actually. I think.
That Brown and Simon would be Simon and Schuster.
Yeah, maybe.
Little
Brown and Simon and Schuster.
Yeah, Little Brown.
Never got together. That would be the case.
I think they actually did acquire each other.
They might have.
I don't know.
We might be wrong. We might be right about this. Now, I have an idea. So we're at something closing in on the 2-minute mark or 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
Let's do a Twitter hashtag for people who make it to the end. Send us at Fred Minnick, at Paul Charchian, a special hashtag, which I want you to name.
Okay.
That says, I'm one of the true believers that made it to the 2-hour mark.
Okay. What's a good hashtag for us?
It's
unique to us.
Mm-hmm.
Coconut water.
Coconut water. Okay. Hashtag coconut water, and we will know you are one of the true believers.
And the reason why is I forced Paul to drink some coconut water.
It's true.
Beforehand.
And so I'm glad right now.
So he would have the electrolytes to withstand this 2-hour tasting.
Yes. I'm going to give you one last name that we haven't talked about yet. That's sports, tied to sports and alcohol. Harry Carey.
Oh, God.
Harry Carey.
Yeah.
The seventh inning stretch with the song, and he's slurring all the words and everything by the end.
Jack Daniels, baby.
Harry Carey was 37 years in to his broadcasting career before he started with the Cubs.
Oh, wow.
For 16 more years.
I didn't know that.
I know. Unbelievable. So he ended up having a 52-year run as a broadcaster.
Wow.
Staggering.
I mean, but what a job, man. What a legend. What an incredible voice, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And he did the White Sox for a long time, then went to the Cubs. So he had a lot of Chicago roots.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you ever been to one of his steakhouses in Chicago?
Yeah, I think I did, but I don't recall it very well.
That's a sign right there if you don't recall it.
Yeah, and one of the books I wrote was on steaks for certified Angus beef. And
really, you've written a steak book as well.
I have, and I traveled the country eating at all these different steakhouses, and I mean I've had some incredible steaks. But
I bet you have.
But my favorite was a place called El Gacho in Seattle. He did like a nice peppercorn over a strip.
All right.
Like a pepper.
Okay, so you lost me. Okay, wait.
I typically don't like sauces.
I was gonna say
I don't like sauces normally, but this was amazing.
Here, I've got a great screwball for you to taste. You'll love the peanut butter. You'll love the peanut butter on top of your bourbon. Come on, man. You can't tell me it's a great steak and then smother it in I love peppercorn. You can't smother your steak in peppercorn and tell me how great the steak is.
Fair. I can just tell you that was the most memorable steak that I had, and I've had many. And I don't put sauces on my steaks ever.
We've got a great steakhouse in Minnesota called Manny's, and here's what I love what they do. They've got one bull in Chicago that makes all their steak. One bull. And that's our bull. He's got all the qualities. This bull, has all the qualities we want in our steaks. And they just use all meat that comes from.
They're freezing his semen right now.
As we speak. That's right. That's right. That bull right now is getting some action.
On that note of the freezing semen, which, by the way, my degree's in agriculture, and I actually watched that stuff happen. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's very.
You don't want to see that happen.
You need therapy after it.
I bet
it's very.
Hashtag coconut water.
Coconut water, not to be confused with what's happening with the bull. On that. No. But as we close out here, cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Everybody just look for Paul Charchian or look for Charch. Check out all of his fantasy football stuff. He is the best in the game. And you've got your own website, your own league.
GuillotineLeagues.com for the new, freshest, funnest way to play fantasy football. GuillotineLeagues.com.
Ooh, giddy up.
All right.
Let's go lose some money on some fantasy football, which is what I know because I never fucking win. But
you won last year? You won your Guillotine League last year.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
I thought you won it.
No, I didn't win.
Oh, you're right. Mr. X won it.
Yeah, he won it.
He won that. Forget it.
He got some good whiskey from me.
He did.
But that's going to do it, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.